Wagwan YouTube, what you saying? It is I, Diligent Fingers, and welcome back to another video. Right now, you're going to get into a track breakdown video taken from my Motion Gang Members Club, which is a Patreon style membership service that I set up back in January. If you want to join the Members Club and get these videos as soon as they come out, just go to www.diligentfingers.uk, go to memberships, pick tier 2 and you'll be able to get exclusive monthly tracks and track breakdown videos like this, plus merch like what I'm wearing now. But until then, enjoy the video. Yes, gang, welcome back to another breakdown. I'm gonna warn you right now, this is probably going to be one of the shortest breakdowns that I'll ever do, because this remix was so easy to make because there was so much vibes, there was so much that was in the original already that I didn't want to get rid of. Or not get rid of, bad choice of words, but that I didn't want to take away, that I ended up just focusing on completely changing the sort of vibe and almost genre of the track itself. And we're not even going to waste any time. We're going to get straight into it because I absolutely adore this track. I love the fact that I got the chance to make this remix, and I love how simple it is. Like, you can see it right there yourself. 22 tracks, that's all it took to capture this absolute vibe of a track. And the most of it is coming from Cyber Posix, who made the original track, but this track is Valiant Emcee and Cyber Posix featuring the vocals of Flowanastasia. This is Jasmine. And yeah, just to get a refresher of what I did, here's my remix. That's just completely spoiled everything, but I'm gonna leave it in because this is what happens sometimes. Every time winter comes again, holding on to memories of pain. When the jasmine starts to bloom, I can't help but keep on dreaming of you. Every time the winter comes again, holding on to memories of pain.
Storm front moving through, mist already showing. Now I can smell the blossoms moving through the air, while the crashing up the surface is soothing, kind of roaring. I think it says your name, at least I wanted to. Some of it's synonymous with memories of how we used to walk side by side, but now our hands linger, holding on to each other, then together by a pinky finger. We used to laugh so hard, the stakes were lower then. Taking on the world with your head on my shoulder then. I feel older when I realize how naive the shit we used to think, man, I just can't believe it. Time took its toll on us, wounded. The scar tissue, it grows in us, but I'ma wait around to see the coming winter through until the Jasmine lose once again for me and you. Hey.
Every time the winter comes again, holding on to memories of pain. When the jasmine starts to bloom, I can't help but keep on dreaming of you. Every time the winter comes again, holding on to memories of pain. When the jasmine starts to bloom, I can't help but keep on dreaming of you.
Really simple, yet really effective. And like I said, like, this is probably going to be one of the shortest breakdowns that I've done, because there isn't much that I've done, because my focus wasn't really on completely radically changing the track. Because of what was there already, it was more of a case of, okay, how can I completely switch the vibe on this and that, you know? And to be able to do so, it just didn't take much. So to begin with, obviously, we've got the parts that came from the original, which were the pads, some of the plucks, obviously the vocals, the keys, because the piano keys is what really carries it, and there was no way that I was taking it out of the track for the remix. And then you've got the sound effects up top. So in terms of the original pads, and then I love the little like vocal that Flowanastasia did. So I thought I'd have that as part of like the intro, because it's just really sweet. It's like you called into your partner or your lover. Do you know what I mean? Hey, you. Do you know what I mean? Really sweet, really gorgeous vocals. Like Flo just kills it every time when it comes to the vocals. We've got the sound effects up top. Really gorgeous sound effects, provides ambience, texture. Do you know what I mean? Those little pieces of ear candy to keep you intrigued, keep you locked into the track. So I didn't really need to add anything in those kind of areas. We've got the keys, which are just gorgeous, beautiful keys. We've got some plucks, but they're only just in specific parts. Really low in the mix, but just nice. Again, nice texture adding, ear candy. We've got the vocals.
Linger, holding on to each other, linked together by your pinky fingers. We used to laugh so hard, the stakes were lower then. Taking on the world with your head on my shoulder then.
You know? And that's it. When it came to, you know, what was kept from the original, you know, that's it really. And then I just provided the rest, and the rest wasn't much either. Obviously we've got this section here.
Rose in us, but I'ma wait around.
So that's where we're bringing the intro pads back into the mix, but there's added extras, extra lead. So I wanted to make sure I bring that back in nicely. Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't want the pads to completely roll through the track, because, you know, in the original it does. I wanted to be able to, when it drops, leave space for the pianos and the vocals to really, you know what I mean, take over the track. I've got my sub bass here as well to provide that depth. But yeah, when it comes to that, let's get into what I actually added. So instantly when the track starts, you hear these Christmas type bells that come in, and I think I think around the time that I was making it, I think it was getting to winter. But also the theme of the track, every time winter comes again, holding on to memories of pain. Do you know what I mean? You know, I thought, rather than it just being something that's said, I thought I'd find some sort of percussion, some hi-hats or something like that for the intro to sort of bring that feeling in further of winter time, almost Christmas time, because it's normally around that time that you start, you know, thinking about family, thinking about loved ones, and if you've got a broken heart, if you've just broken up with somebody, Christmas time is a hard time of year for people, because that's when they're thinking about the people that they've lost, the love that they've lost, you know. But it can also be a festive time if you have got that partner with you, and you've been through some hard times, you've been through some pain together, and Christmas might be a time that reminds you of that, but because you've got that loved one with you, do you know what I mean? Um, you know, it makes it all that much better. You know, those fond memories that you have, that could be what you know, Flo is talking about holding on to, you know. So yeah, the Christmas bells, I thought I had to bring them in. And they're not necessarily actually Christmas bells, they're just a set of chimes and little tiny cymbals, but they come with that Christmas effect. Yeah, just found a really nice simple loop that had that variety. It wasn't just a simple ching 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 ching. There was a lot going on there that probably would have taken me a while to sort of bring that together in that way. And yeah, it just fit. It just fit. So good sample choice. And going with the effects. Just really ends up adding to the atmosphere. Didn't need any more than that, you know? And then as we get further into the tune, I always love to add those little complimentary excuse me, sorry about that. Those complimentary melody parts, melody riffs. Bells are always a good go-to when it comes to soulful, stripped back but soulful stuff like this. And the effects that I'm using on this channel, a little bit of EQ, take out some of the highs, a phaser, a spreader to give it some stereo width, and a nice bit of delay. And then we've got two buses here, going to large reverb and small hall reverb. So a mixture of both of them, just give it that bit of atmosphere and airiness, to go along with making those bells really fit into the vibe. And then just to add another melody, we've got some Starlight Vox. just nice, and goes along with the pads as well, and just gives it that, having another melody there just gives it that, fills it out a bit more and stops it feeling repetitive, but just adds that complementary harmony to it, you know? Almost choir like as well. And that's about it. When it came to the fills, yeah, sorry, there was another stem from the original that I ended up keeping. When it came to the fills, there were some really nice fills, but I think I slowed these down because there's a little bit of crunch from the time stretching. Yeah, I think I time stretched them and slowed them down. Yeah, same with that one as well. Just to add some extra fills, and then for the actual drop, and then later on, just to bring in another break. It's got that nice little panning on there as well. But yeah, man, again, another stem that I kept from the original, but that again, that's just for fills and stuff, and they're really good fills, so there's no point in me getting rid of them. But if anything, if I'm gonna do anything, just time stretch them out. And the reason why I did that is because for the intro, instead of keeping it as a normal drum and bass intro, with the drums coming in before the drop, I thought I'd just bring it right down and more of a hip hop, stripped back hip hop feel.
Every time the winter comes again, holding on to
Whole time my brethrens, my brothers, Chardre and Salvage, bring in their standard and really nice standard hats. Just simple, didn't even need to do any processing or add anything. Just really good hats to use. To be honest, I use them quite a bit in quite a few tracks and that, but they're really good hats. When it came to the kick and the snare kick, just found a really good kick. Found a really good snare that just fits. Found another good kick. And as you can see, no processing whatsoever. And because I knew that I was going to keep it stripped back, and I knew when it came to the drop, the only thing that I was going to add extra is just the sub. There was no need for me to really go in on any kind of processing or anything like that. It was just more of a case of giving each sound space for it to come through.
every time the winter comes again, holding on to memories of pain. When the jasmine starts to bloom, I can't.
Do you know what I mean? To me, and at the time, that sounded absolutely fine. With hindsight, there's probably more that I could have done. A little bit of processing on the kick, some saturation, a bit of EQ. Do you know what I mean? But because it's from a sample pack, the sounds are from a sample pack, they would have been processed enough already for them to sound the way that they sound. So it's just balancing, basically. When you look at all of the channel faders at the bottom, it was just a case of balancing all of the sounds and making sure that they've all got space for them to come through properly. So then when it came to the sub, all I would need to do on the sub is shape it using EQ. So I'm taking the sides out from the lows, basically, just to help with the fact that it's a stereo sub. I didn't have bass lane at the time to be able to switch the ES2 into a mono signal. And that Fat Effects, which is probably British Clean, that I would have used from Camel Crusher, just to give it the saturation. Duck in terms of leveling, side chaining. And then the free version of the LA2A tube compressor, just to give it again that tube warmth, that depth. And that's it when it came to it. And like I said, I'm taking the pads out, I'm bringing the keys in, the vocals come in, I'm just leaving enough space for those particular parts to really be emphasized when it drops. The drums drop out just for about, say, 2 bars and that, and then they come back in, and the pattern has changed just to bring it back to drum and bass.
Every time the winter comes again, holding on to.
I've added some African kick axti, is what I think what they're called, just to add some energy, pick up the pace. Shakers basically, but African shakers. Again, no processing, no but at all, no added effects or anything like that. If you look at them, hardly anything, because it was more about giving each sound space rather than trying to, process them to fit within the track. Because again, 22 tracks, so there's not much that anything really has to compete with,
Memories of pain. When the jasmine starts to bloom, I can't help but keep on dreaming of you.
The wind is steady, blowing, storm front moving through, mist already showing. Now I can smell the blossoms moving through the air while the crashing of the surf is a soothing kind of roaring. I think it says your name, at least I wanted to. Some of it's synonymous with memories of how we used to walk side by side, letting our hands linger, holding on to each other, linked together by our pinky fingers. We used to laugh so hard, mistakes were low.
Beautiful. So when it came to the drop, the drums on the drop, again, using the same kick, different snare, which I got from by the producer demo pack, one of the 3 packs that they gave out. Really nice snare. So again, no processing, comes from a professional pack, so the processing would have already been done. Just level it out, make sure it's got its space. And then I've also got some rides. And some extra hats, pick up the pace. And on the road, you probably wouldn't think that they would sound that great within a tune, but in the overall context of the track, it all works.
Now I can smell the blossoms moving through the air while the crashing of the surf is a soothing kind of roaring. I think it says your name, at least I wanted to. Some of it's synonymous with memories of how we used to walk side by side, letting our hands linger, holding on to each other, linked together by our pinky fingers. We used to laugh so hard, the stakes were lower then. Taking on the world with your head on my shoulder then. I feel older when I realize how naive the shit we used to think, man, I just can't believe it. Time took its toll on us, wounded. The scar tissue, it grows in us. But I'ma wait around to see the coming winter through until the jasmine blues once again for me and you. Hey.
Every time the winter comes again, holding on to memories of pain. When the jasmine starts to bloom, I can't help but keep on dreaming of you.
Just nice, man. Then the chorus comes back in. Obviously, we changed the sub. got to switch it up. We can't keep the sub the same because the chorus, the context of the track has changed from the verse to the chorus again. So it's gone from one side explaining why this cold feeling may be coming in along with the winter. Do you know what I mean? And then the chorus brings it back to the response to those words. Every time the winter comes again, holding on to memories of pain. When the jasmine starts to bloom, I can't help but keep on dreaming of you. Do you know what I mean? And it's the call and response. So obviously, the sub has to change. Elements have to change. There has to be something that lets the listener know that there's a next part that's either coming up or that we've transitioned to. You know, so again, that's why the drums drop out again, and we use some of the breaks that were in the original as a way of indicating that transition.
Again for me and you, hey.
Every time the winter comes again, holding on to
Vox are back in. We bring the Vox back in.
when the jasmine starts to bloom, I can't help but keep on dreaming of you. Every time the winter comes.
Just beautiful. It's one of those where you already had so much good stuff from the original that there's not much they needed to do, and it makes you rethink about your approach and what it is that you want to do and what it is that you can do. For me, completely changing the vibe of the track, sort of leading it into more of an almost lovers rock, hip hop, R&B sort of vibe from rather than just straight jungle drum and bass. I felt like that would be the best idea that I would have in terms of it being a unique remix, you know, rather than just keeping it in that same drum and bass formula and structure. Take this as an opportunity to more emphasize some of the more beautiful and oftentimes that can be overlooked parts of the original. The musicality, the instrumentation, those beautiful piano keys, emphasizing more of the vocals, Flowanastasia, Flowanastasia's voice, Valiant Emcee's poignant lyrics and deep baritone voice. Do you know what I mean? Kind of like mine. For me, it was more about stripping it back and sort of giving flowers to what I felt like the parts that people should be paying attention to, rather than just falling into that same typical like drum and bass formula, jungle drum and bass formula, but still keeping it in that realm basically. And yeah, 22 tracks, a kick, 2 different snares, some percussion, a nice 808 sub, a choir vocal, some bells. That's all it took, and some Christmassy sounding hi-hats and rides and chimes. That's all it took to hopefully what feels like completely transforming a track for a remix. So yeah, man. That's it. The last thing I'll do is probably more explain the sort of home mastering side that I do when it comes to my end. And it's more just a case of just repeating settings and adjusting things to taste, basically. But the aim of the game for me is one, keeping an eye on the levels when they're going in, so making sure that nothing's redlining on these tracks at the bottom here and stuff, so I've got headroom to be able to draw more volume out of the track when I need to. So I have an MV meter. For the longest time I thought it represented something completely different. The values on here represented something completely different because it's a VU meter. audio signal meter, basically. Now that I understand what it is representing compared to what I should be using for what I thought it was, which is peak and true peak, I'm able to work with it a lot more. But for the longest time, the principle of being around -6 and -3 in terms of initial peak, that's always going to be something that I'll stick by. In terms of using this meter, it seems like I think I was around maybe a dB or two below what I thought I was, because I was reading the meter wrong. But I'm still using it as a good basis to work off, because it's carried me through a lot longer for most of my career. And now that I understand it, I know how much more volume I can actually draw out of it. But that's the initial level that it's going in. I try and keep it around, like I said, -6, between -6, -3. And then to make sure that all of my peaks are being tamed, I've got a nice limiter on there that also helps to like bring up the volume. I boosted the gain by plus 3 dB. When the jasmine starts to bloom, I can't help it. Really subtle limiting, really subtle limiting. And again, that's more down to making sure that everything that's going into it is balanced. So my snares are not too high, my kicks are not too high. Everything is balanced as best as it can to give the limiter less work, so then you've got more of a consistent sound that's coming out. I've got the channel EQ, basically using it as an analyzer so I can see where all the frequencies are hitting in the mix. Keep on dreaming of you. And for me, that looks great. The highs aren't too high, they're not too piercing, it's not too bright. The mids are quite balanced, nothing is really peaking out too much except for when the vocals come in, which is what you want really, because the vocals are the standout. The vocals are what people are going to be following and responding to the most. And yeah, the sub, you want the sub area nice and big and thick, so that it's filling out the rest of the track basically. Especially for something that's stripped down like this, there's more room for the sub to be able to take up that space, because it's not fighting with so much within the mid range and within the highs. So then next up, it is the maximizer that I would use. Ceiling is at 0.1 minus 0.1 dB, and then I brought the threshold up to 8, which is basically bringing up the volume to what I think is the appropriate loudness basically. And to measure the output, the overall loudness that's coming out, I've got the multimeter, stock Logic multimeter, and I normally go off RMS as the last overall measurement that I want to go by. And around here I'm normally aiming for something soft like this, between -7 and -6 basically. And that just sounds nice. I don't think it needs to be louder. It's not that type of tune. I know it's not going to be something that's played in the clubs often and that. So if the DJ really wants to play it in the club, it's not going to harm him just to turn the gain up a couple of dB on the mixer. Do you know what I'm saying? But at least I know it'll be within the loudness realms of other Liquid tracks and stuff. So because Liquid doesn't really need to be pushed that hard, it doesn't really get pushed that hard compared to like Jump Up and Rollers and, you know, other subgenres like that. And that's it basically. I'll turn everything off just so that you can hear what it sounds like without all of that processing on at the end.
Memories of how we used to walk side by side, letting our hands linger, holding on to each each other, linked together by a pinky finger. We used to laugh so hard, the stakes were lower then. Take another world with your head on my shoulder then.
And the main thing you notice there is when it comes to the balancing, where everything is sitting within the mix, when the limiter and the maximizer are on, is no different to when it's off. And that's always what I'm aiming for. I'm not necessarily using the maximizer or the limiter as a way of shaping the overall track. I'm only using those things just to boost the overall loudness and volume, because the feel that I've got within the mix is really what I want to keep. There are some instances where I do take advantage of a limiter being, being on the overall, not master, but the stereo out. You know, I do take advantage of some of the coloration and distortion, like nice distortion that can come from pushing a maximizer. There are times that I do take advantage of that and I do go down that lane. But overall, the main principle is to get the track sounding more or less the same, no matter the volume, no matter whether a limiter or a maximizer is put on to the end or not. And yeah, when it gets to the point where it just sounds like the volume has been turned down when I switch these things off, I'm happy. I'm very, very happy.
I feel older when I realize how naive the shit we used to think, man, I just can't believe it. Time took its toll, I know.
But again, really, really simple things. The only things that I'm using on this track is in a way of being able to raise the volume is 1, the limiter, and 2, the maximizer, the Ozone Elements maximizer. I've not got the imager on or the EQ. Is literally just the maximizer that I'm using out of Ozone Elements. That's it. Really simple things. And that because throughout all of these breakdowns, if there's anything that I hope people are taking from these breakdowns, is that it's all about how you think about these things, what you understand about how putting these tracks together work, and then thinking more about how you approach these things. Having a little bit of forethought when you're going into starting a track, and when you find a theme and how to develop that theme, what it takes, what it doesn't need at the same time, because you don't need to. As you can see with this track, I didn't go crazy with adding so many extras and stuff. It was just really just working off what's there and working on the feel of the track. I'm always talking about the feel, progression, picking up pace, ear candy, textures, atmospheres, ambience. They're the things that really make a track have feeling, have presence. Like, they're the things that help a track come alive. And then you can only really get to that point of being able to execute those things successfully when you start really thinking about how you make a song, basically, when you really start thinking about the use of space, the use of simple melodies, simple things that complement, the use of using sound effects and ambience and foley, like just sounds from just everyday things like traffic and stuff like that, as a way of adding texture. Really tapping into, say, if a listener is listening in headphones, what is it going to feel like for them? What is it going to sound like? So little bits of panning on certain parts of the track really go a long way to like prick the listener's ears and be like, oh, that was different. Oh, that was interesting. And that helps them to stay locked in, as well as the sub, as well as the drums, as well as, the vocals. These are the things that really help you to feel immersed within a track, So if there's anything that I want people to take from these track breakdowns, it's how you creatively think about the overall feel of each piece of music that you make. You know, we as DJs, we always say that we're taking the listener on a journey. Do you know what I mean? In that context, think about your track being a part of that journey, a step. You know what I mean? A stop on that journey that a listener can fall into and experience. Do you know what I'm saying? Because these things, when I think back to all of the music that really inspired me, when I think back to like people like Marcus Intellect's Caliber, um, when it comes to liquid tracks, Marcus Intellect's Caliber, Marky and XRS, I think it was, the stuff that DRS does, Czar, Channel, Motive, all three of them, absolute G's when it comes to liquid. LSB, Lensman, Red Eyes. There's so many that I can think of where they really work off the feel, not using much to create an overall vibe, because it's all about the feel, those elements that they're using to complement the feel of a track. When I think about what they do and how stripped back they can be and how little they can use to create something big, it's always those things that help me to understand it, because I end up so immersed in their pieces of music, you know. Mr. Joseph as well. Oh, he makes some gorgeous, gorgeous liquid. When it comes to some of these new guys, Minos, he's doing some great stuff. Untrue, he's doing some great stuff. Um, yeah, man. There's a few more that are not coming to mind at the moment and stuff, but Zero T, oh, when he gets on some liquid, he's a bad man when he gets on some liquid. But yeah, man. There's many examples out there that you can listen to and just take the time to pick apart what it is that they're doing. Alex Perez, Halogenics, Monty, again, the way that they chop up R&B and soul samples, little bits of vocals to, you know, add texture, add vibe. High contrast when he gets on his really nice liquid stuff. Yeah, there's a few people out there. Oh, Seven, the way that he's making his liquid and breaking down his tracks and the tracks that he's using as influence and inspiration. Oh, mate, sick, absolutely sick. So yeah, man, yeah, that's the breakdown for Valiant, Emcee, Cyber Posix, Flowanastasia, my remix of their track Jasmine. Did that, man. Thank you very much for watching. And I hope you have an amazing day, an amazing week. Take care of yourselves, take care of your mental health, because you don't know, good mental health is wealth. Forward ever, backward never, always. And as always, blessings to you all.